Do not make an opening that would give a check to the king like yellow did. What's up everyone? Today's topic is more intriguing compared to the previous video. If you're an experienced chess player and try 4-player chess, you will struggle a lot at the beginning. However, if you're aware of these mistakes, you are less likely to face challenges. Many beginners are unaware of how to play 4PC and commonly make these mistakes. In this video, we will cover 10 common mistakes that beginners make in 4PC free-for-all. Before going further, please subscribe to Quadrat Cross, which will help grow this channel. Number 10. Being checked in the opening. In 4PC, you must avoid being checked as much as possible. Many beginners push both pawns or make moves that put themselves in check at the beginning of the game. Pushing both pawns resembles the perk defense in standard chess, but you cannot play four-handed chess as if it were traditional chess. Doing so will lead to defeat. When you're in check, keep in mind that your opponents could take advantage of this situation to capture your pieces. Let's look at an example. The game begins with red opening a path for the queen, blue moving a pawn in front of the king, yellow opening a path for the bishop and queen, which was a bad move. Can you guess why? Pause the video for a moment, then resume it when you figure it out.
A few moments later.
So, did you figure out? Green starts the first turn by checking yellow. Then blue takes yellow's bishop for free. Yellow can take blue's bishop because the king is checked by green. Do not make an opening that would give a check to the king like yellow did. When you allow other players to check you in the opening, it's like saying,
keep the change.
At some point, it will be impossible to evade, especially at the end when there are fewer pieces. But at the beginning, you must avoid any move that will put you in check. Number 9. Trading the bishop with the knight. Many beginners trade a bishop for a knight, which is a detrimental move. A bishop is worth 5 points and a knight is worth 3 points. Basically, when you trade your bishop for a knight, you lose 2 points. In traditional chess, bishops and knights are frequently exchanged. But if you do that in 4PC, you're giving 2 points for free to an enemy, and you might be at a disadvantageous situation. Moreover, the conventional chess contains 64 squares, whereas 4PC has 160 squares. Basically, the size of the board of 4PC is 2.5 times larger than standard board. Obviously, a bishop is superior to a knight since it can move a large distance in one turn. For a bishop to move to the opposite side of the board, it would take only 2 turns. For a knight, it would take 8 turns, which is 4 times more. Do you see the difference? Just consider the bishop as a sniper, missile, or a fighter jet, and the knight as a tank or armored vehicle. Unless there's a strategic advantage, when the knight is an obstacle, you're trying to penetrate the enemy line, or if it threatens your security, you should never give up your bishop for a knight. For example, when a player willing to promote the pawn into a queen, but a knight is blocking, it might be worth to sacrifice the bishop for a queen in the short term. What about in the long term? Well, that's a different story. Remember, in FFA, you win based on the points. Every single point matters because you might win or lose a game with 1 or 3 points differences. Number 8. Pushing the pawn alone. In 4PC, the pawn is promoted into a queen on the 8th square. It is common to see players pushing only one pawn toward the 8th square. When you push your pawn, other players will try to prevent it from promoting to a queen, or one of them will sacrifice their knight or pawn to capture your second queen. In some cases, nobody will prevent it. But in many cases, your opponents will try to stop it. Knights have the lowest point value excluding pawns, so people tend to exchange them for a queen promoted from a pawn. Remember, a promoted queen worth 1 point is still a queen. The more coins you have, the more threatening you will be to your enemies, which is why they will attempt to attack your advancing pawn. Pawns can save your game. If you want to obtain a queen, push at least 2 pawns so that you can still promote one of them into a queen in case the first one is captured. If you push only 1 pawn and it gets captured by someone else, then you will have another long way to go. However, if 2 or more pawns are close to the 8th square and one of them is captured, you still have a backup. Now, you might ask, pushing at least 2 pawns will take forever, so why not just march with 1 pawn? It might take some time, but it could pay off in the long run. If none of them are captured, then you could have 3 queens in total, which will be advantageous strategically. Also, even if you cannot promote your opponent to a queen right away, be patient, focus on something else, but keep an eye on it. Then when the right moment comes, you could have 2 or more queens in total. Number 7. Engaging only with one player. In 1 vs 1, it is common to see black and white exchanging pieces, and the game ends up in a draw, or, in case one of them blunders, the other player wins. In contrast, if you do that in 4PC, you will have almost nothing at the end and lose the game. Just like the name of the game indicates, there are 4 players on the board, and you are playing against 3 players. So, don't just attack the same opponent all the time by pretending the other 2 enemies don't exist. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you cannot win a 4PC game with the mindset of standard chess. Unless there's only one opponent left in the game, you should never trade pieces just with one player. Instead, try to find vulnerabilities of other enemies. Number 6. Always exchanging the bishop with the rook. This could be debatable because many players believe that the rook is always superior to the bishop. The answer is, it depends on the situation. Some players do not exchange their bishop for a rook even when the path is open because they understand that it is not a priority. Besides, don't forget that the rook and bishop have equal value, each worth 5 points. Strategically, the rook could be superior at the end of the game, but depending on the situation, it doesn't always support victory. Some games might end earlier with many pieces, while others end with only few pieces. Number 5. Giving away free rooks. Anyone could make this mistake, but it is far more common among beginners. At the beginning of the game, you will often see players opening a diagonal path for the bishop and rook. Think about the king's fianchetto or Nimzo Larsen attack in the opening of standard chess. If you notice your opponents doing this, they are targeting your rook. You must watch out for bishops on both sides. To prevent losing your rook, you simply need to block with your pawn or knight. An alternative could be castling, but be careful because castling could lead to a trap later on. If not, simply move your knight or bishop, then relocate your rook somewhere else. Even if your rook are not currently under threat, a player could attack them when you're in check. Number 4. Not calculating turns. This is a huge one because many beginners forget to calculate all 3 opponents' next move. As mentioned earlier, if you get checked, others will begin to attack you for their points. Some players might not take advantage of the opportunity because they are aware of the prisoner's dilemma theory. If you haven't watched the video about prisoner's dilemma, make sure to do so because this is crucial if you play for PC. Now, going back to the main topic, before you move a piece, ensure whether your move is safe or not. The players that played before and after you could exploit you. Take a look at this game. As you can see, player red is in danger. That player was lucky to be alive because if blue wasn't on check, he or she would have been the first one eliminated. A space to the king was given. After that, the priority must have been protecting the knight with the bishop, but instead, the pawn was moved. Red was eager to have a queen, which wasn't the priority. Can you guess why this was a bad move? Pause to think about it. So, you got the answer? Before red's turn, blue, yellow, and green must play. Now, blue checks red by taking the knight, then yellow just advances the pawn. Then green takes the pawn and will have a free rook. If the bishop was protecting the knight, blue wouldn't have checked red, and green couldn't have taken the pawn and the rook. This is why you must calculate the movements of all players when you play for PC, because a single miscalculation can ruin your game. Number 3. Leaving the second queen stranded. After promoting the queen, many beginners simply leave the queen in the middle of the board instead of bringing back to the base. When you have 2 queens, other players will try to harass you by aiming your main queen, which is worth 9 points, and your second queen, worth 1 point. Sometimes, they will swallow other pieces from you for free, and your queen will be targeted simultaneously. Take a look at this game. Blue got a second queen but simply pushes the pawn in front of you. Green is willing to attack blue's second queen, and red takes blue's pawn. However, Saving the queen is more important than getting rid of the knight because a queen is obviously incomparably powerful to a knight. Do you see the importance of retreating the second queen to the base? Unless you can find a vulnerability, and there is no potential threat to you, you shouldn't leave your promoted queen in the middle of the board. When the enemies are aiming both of your queen, then you are trapped, and only one of the queens will come out alive. As you can see, the main queen is safe, but the two queens in the middle of the board are trapped. In other words, the enemies got the target locked.
Target locked.
When you promote a queen at the beginning of the game, make sure to bring back to the base and place it somewhere safe. Be aware of the enemies attempting to exchange with a bishop, knight, or a rook, even though it is only worth 1 point. Remember, a promoted queen is still a queen, regardless of the value. Number 2. Resigning if key pieces die. It is common to see beginners resign when they lose a queen or some key pieces. Keep in mind that losing a queen doesn't mean losing the game. Even if you have multiple queens, you can still be checkmated. A queen will give you tactical and strategic advantages, but it doesn't guarantee victory. Victory is never guaranteed. If your powerful pieces die, and your pawns are still alive, then try to advance them to obtain a queen. In 4PC, even if you make more than one mistake, you can still win a game. Some games are won without a queen, so don't be fooled by the myth that you cannot win without it. It is true that many checkmates are executed by the queen, but not all checkmates involve a queen. Number 1. Quick checkmates. Every beginner probably fell into this trap. When I started for PC, I got checkmated in less than 3 moves multiple times. Even some advanced players with the rating over 2000 are eliminated quickly when they're oblivious. Quick checkmates are checkmates done in less than 6 moves. This is a topic for another time, but I will briefly explain what you need to do in your opinion. Whenever you see your opponent on both sides making a path for the queen, or a bishop aiming at your king, you simply need to block it with your pawn. These were 10 common mistakes that beginners make in 4PC. I hope you learned a lesson. If you're new to 4PC, or if you're thinking to start 4PC, then you're lucky! I wish I knew these when I was a beginner. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video!